I am a resident of Winnipeg. I moved to Winnipeg to go to university, the University of Winnipeg, but before that I lived in a small town in northern Ontario. Before that, I was actually going to bring some pictures of my childhood. Up until the age of 6 years old, I lived in sort of like a little teepee type thing, and my dad was a bushman, and we basically, lived in the woods. So my older brother was actually born in a teepee with the hot boiling water and stuff, and that was really cool. And I think that's probably one of the only times that you'd probably hear that in my culture anyways, because everyone now moved to the city. So I started as an instructor at the University of Winnipeg teaching computer science. There we go. So I started as an instructor teaching computer science, and what I noticed was the class sizes were getting larger and larger, and the students were getting younger and younger. And it wasn't just the old techie with horned rim glasses programming apps. It was younger kids, and they were more and more female. So I started to keep track of that to see, well, how much people are really into programming, and why are the females into programming more? And throughout this, I'm going to show you some pictures on what they're doing in terms of the creativity and the ideas that they're bringing to the apps. So also, I'm going to be showing actually we're going to be creating an app, like literally opening up Photoshop and punching in some pictures and maybe some code even. And thanks to the symposium, we have a videographer that's recording this, so he's going to show the video online, so you don't have to pull out your phones and you don't have to record while we're doing this. So I created the Ojibwe App, and this Ojibwe App here was originally created to teach my daughter how to speak Ojibwe. And one of the things that I like doing before we start is taking a selfie with the group here. So I'm just going to take a selfie, and I'm going to use this fisheye lens here. All right, there we go. Actually, no fisheye. And I just need you to all give a wave here, and I'm going to post it on Twitter. All right, 1, 2, 3. There we go. And I'm going to post it to Twitter right now, and then you could check it out on the using this hashtag here that I've pasted to the presentation. There we go. So it's on Twitter. Please retweet it and follow me on Twitter. I'd love to start a dialogue with you and learn what you're doing, as well as just get in contact with you. So I started creating the Ojibwe app in my basement with no money, as any app developer usually does in their basement. And I decided that I wanted to teach my daughter Ojibwe. She didn't know Ojibwe, and the books that I bought her and the CDs that I bought her were just unopened. Like literally I could return them because they weren't used. So I decided to make this Ojibwe app, and she was carrying around an iPad all the time, and she wouldn't let it go. So I decided to use that connection and put an app onto her iPad. So since putting the app onto the iPad, I decided, well, she's starting to use the app, and my mother, her grandmother, thought that was so cool that she was learning a few words here and there. And in the area of Winnipeg we live in, we don't have any language classes for Ojibwe. So I decided, well, my mom thinks it's really cool, and she's talking to my mom, and they're talking to each other. Very simple Ojibwe. So why not use that magical moment and share that with some other parents, right? So like her, you know, she wasn't learning it in school, so I figured, well, just release the app. So I released the Ojibwe app about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And as of 6 months ago, we had 100,000 downloads of the app, and we released it onto Android 2 years ago, and then just released it to the the Windows platform. So it's available all over the place. So the reason why, of course, I created the app was to teach her, to help her learn Ojibwe. But what I noticed was she started sharing it with her grandmother, and the littler kids started to pick up the language a lot quicker. So I decided, well, why not just put a video onto YouTube and see what other parents or see what other folks can do with it. So I'm going to hook up the audio here. I think it's one of these cables. Okay, that connects into there. That connects. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So the cool thing is that the app, the Ojibwe app, and like all the other apps like Bitsboard and stuff, they're all portable apps. So once we put these tools into the hands of the young people and start to allow them to learn the language, they start to find new ways to use the app. And what you saw there was a little girl, my daughter, who just jumped in and grabbed the iPad and started using it, and she counted to 5 in Ojibwe. And then I turned the camera on, and I caught her, with some words. So that was a really magical moment there. But that it totally wasn't scripted, so I thought that was really cool. And I didn't even get to wipe her nose. If you saw, she still had snot in the nose. And so I thought, well, earlier this year I delivered what's called a TED Talk, and it's really cool. I got to present what I've been doing, and it's basically me just working with tribes, and I didn't think anyone was really interested in it. So it turns out that a lot of people were, and they thought it was really cool. So I found this stat doing some research that half of the 6,000 plus languages spoken today will disappear by the end of the century, and that's from UNESCO. So I thought that was really a really powerful stat by someone that's recognized in language. So what I did was I basically thought, well, why not give the power to other developers, or why not give the power to other schools? So I released the source code for the Ojibwe app for free, and it's been downloaded quite a bit of times. I think it's around 50,000 times off our website. And so far that source code has helped create different apps for different tribes. And just looking at some of the apps that are out there, if it's not the tribe making the app, it's also me helping with that app development. So the source code has helped develop over 60 language apps. And those 60 apps, this is just an estimate because I sometimes don't have access to other folks' iTunes accounts and can't record the downloads. But just asking them questions, we're up to around 200,000 downloads for the language apps in total. So I think we all kind of know what language apps are from the previous presentation, so I'm just going to skip through this. So this is one of the Storybook apps, and Storybook apps are really cool. You saw one earlier. It was, it was sort of like a kitchen scene where you were feeding the fish and those types of things. And we're actually going to create a little Storybook app using Photoshop. and Quickshare very soon. So this is a Storybook App here, and this was created by the illustration and the text by Pat Ningawants, and she's a very recognized language speaker in the Ojibwe community. So I had the opportunity to work with her on this project. It's for older kids, and it basically goes through a story of a couple teenagers going for a walk. That's what Babamuzade means, going for a walk. And they come across an old lady that almost got hit by a car. And as the student is reading through this, they could either read it to themselves or they could hear the audio. So at the end of it, the moral of the story, I don't know if there is actually a moral, but the story is about, be careful and then don't touch things you're not supposed to touch. So here's another Storybook app, and this was actually created by a tribe in Nova Scotia. So they have 2 or 3 staff just working on their books, and they distribute, I think it's 20,000 books throughout the year, and I think it's about 16 to 20 titles. So that's that book. And also the Chikchansi tribe. This is really cool. This is what I thought was, well, people are using the source code, but I'm getting a lot of questions on, how do you use the source code? And it's usually from people that, they haven't written code before. And unfortunately, the source code, you need to write a little bit of code, so it's more for the technologists. So I thought, well, why not just start teaching people how to write the code? Because if you can write 5 to 10 lines of code, then you can edit the source code to write an app. So I decided to talk to some friends at Fresno State University at the Chikchansi tribe. And we did a week app development camp. So for an entire week, they had their youth group come in, their summer youth group, and help make apps. And the Chikchansi tribe found some old stories from the 1920s or the 1930s, and they wanted to make something interactive out of them. So I have a video here of actually, hopefully it plays. I've been having problems with it. We tech guys do have problems, and secondly, programmers can't fix your computer.
An ancient language once spoken by a foothill and valley Native American tribe is rebounding from the verge of extinction. Action News education reporter Linda Muma is live in the newsroom tonight with the roles Fresno State and a group of young tribal members are playing in bringing it back. Linda?
Liz, 2 years ago, the Linguistics Department received a $1 million grant from the Chikchansi Gold Resort and Casino to complete a dictionary and to create a curriculum for teaching the language in area schools. And today, some of those students finished a summer camp to design technology to use in the classroom.
It's
one of the most difficult of the Yokut dialects to master.
because the way you use your mouth or your tongue or your it's hard.
For example, it has no R sounds. Two consonants never follow each other. And only a handful of tribal elders still speak it fluently, which is why the Chikchansi language was on the brink of extinction until now.
We found some documents from the 30s where they had 27 Chikchansi myths. There were old oral stories.
Stories like Stink Bug and why the coyote's eyes are best, now being used to preserve, protect, and revitalize the tribe's native tongue.
It's really a critical stage for us to get our language out to everybody.
Thanks to the casino's $1 million grant to Fresno State, the Picayune Rancheria Chikchansi Indians now has a dictionary with more than 2,000 words. Grammar a group of students are now using to create apps to teach the language.
First, I think they were just thinking, oh, it'll be a fun activity and we can all hang out and use our technology skills. But as the week progressed, they really kind of caught on to these are going to be around for years and we're really contributing into the language.
For the last 2 weeks, students from all over the area created games and programs to be used as curriculum in Core Schooled schools. Digital technology to give the ancient language a vibrant future.
It's fun. It's a great experience to learn more about who you are and what makes you who you are.
The Stink Bug Chickchansey app is available now for free download in the iTunes Store. 9 more story and language apps are scheduled to be complete by the time school starts in a couple of weeks. Live in the newsroom, Linda Muma, ABC 30 Action News.
So I thought that was really cool. The youth group was just basically some students from around the community that joined this youth group for the summer, and they started to work on some of those programs, some of those apps. And within the first day, I think they had one of the Storybook apps done, and we managed to get through all the Storybook apps, which were, I think, 5 Storybook apps for iPhone and Android. And for the 5th day, I decided to share some more source code. And using their skills, we created this little video game where they had so much fun, they wanted to stay late, and we released the video game to the App Store. And the crazy thing is, I thought, well, you know, these kids, they're kids, right? You know, how fun could the video game be? So I played it for a bit. It was okay, but I checked the downloads, and they had like 10,000 downloads within the first week of it being released. I thought that was just absolutely crazy. I think that's them networking and talking amongst themselves. So they had a lot of fun with that. And here's some pictures, and this is also the video game here. So the graphics, some people might not think those are cool, but I think those are just throwbacks. They're just wonderful graphics. And anyone that could use paint to make graphics is just amazing. So here's the Nova Scotia tribe that I was talking about. And these books were published books, and they were in the library. And they had all the content for them. And really, they were just sitting there. And they had the elders that were willing to voice the content. So we put 2 and 2 together and made some really cool storybook apps. And these storybook apps have audio if you're on the iPad. And as you could see, the fox basically goes through, tricks the bird into giving them the piece of bread, and the fox eats the bread. So with the gaining popularity of these language apps, I figured, well, why not provide all the apps for free on iTunes, and they are for free on iTunes. But there's so much schools now and different communities that are getting tools. So I wanted to show you this video on a product called OLPC. It's one laptop per child, and it's usually available in third world countries where kids don't have access to technology. And something like that exists in Manitoba and in Ontario, where our First Nation schools don't have access to a lot of things that, you know, communities in downtown Winnipeg have or around here have. And that's unfortunate, but OLPC has stepped in, one laptop per child, and is providing not only PCs but tablets.
It's rare to see this many 6-year-olds sitting still, and little do they suspect, they're learning.
I love the math games, and every single thing is so much fun.
All right. Hello, everyone.
The Chachi Innu School has received 50 tablets from One Laptop Per Child Canada, an organization that helps Aboriginal schools keep up with technology.
And there was quite a difference between the on-reserve and off-reserve schools in regards to funding and access to that technology. So we just discovered it was quite a great need and wanted to try to address that divide, as it's so important for future employment or for secondary, post-secondary education to have access to this technology.
And without access to that funding for technology, it is more difficult for the students to keep up with their peers off reserve. The devices are full of educational software aimed at students 6 to 12, helping students learn.
So, actually, what did I do here? All right, so our apps, what we do is we provide them to companies like that. We provide our source code as well, but our apps are basically pre-installed on those devices going into First Nation communities in Canada. And that's one resource that, you know, we could provide apps to communities that don't particularly have high-speed internet. And one of the really cool apps here is Seasons of the North. So the app isn't just words, it's not just stories. we learn a variety of different ways, and teachers, I don't have to tell you the ways that some of your students learn and what you find is helpful. So some of the feedback that I got from a northern community in a remote location is this Seasons of the North app. They want to see an app that displays something that's particularly close, or a scene that's in the community. And this app here allows the teacher to basically display a scene that's in the community. This is Sandy Lake, and this is where they have their typical traditional festival along the river. And they put all these really cool things in this traditional festival, like hunting and fishing. So I'm going to show you the actual app here, if I could find it. There we go. Okay. All right. There we go. Oh well, it's off screen, so here we go. All right, so this is how the app looks on an iPad, and basically the student is able to click into the scene. They have to find 10 things going on, and
Kupujigewak Obaskison Monson Gishidebo.
so there's 10 things going on within the scene. The student then is able to test themselves
Kupujigewak
on the app.
Kupujigewak
Okay, I guess.
Kupujigewak
So I got another.
Obaskison Monson Obaskison Monson Tikkinaganing Takobezo Tikkinaganing Takobezo.
So as the student goes through different levels, the levels start to get a little bit harder, and then they have to.
Wawesha Bakwe.
It's now what the person is doing. So at the end of it, the teacher can go into the end of the app and see what the score of the student was. How well did they do on the first level, which is basic objects, or how difficult was it with more of the complex items? So that's a really cool tool. And the next class could just, reuse the app, so they reset the score, and the student gets some response as well. So as you can see by the slides, we're almost done. All right, so this is a fun app as well. It's basically a memory card game, and it's built for preschoolers that want to hear, how to say bear. And the way you say bear in Ojibwe is makwa. So the student can go through different games, and here's the Ojibwe App template that was used to make the Soto language, which is in not Alaska, but Saskatchewan, just north of Montana. And this is the Cree App. I've often wondered, how many words can you fit into an app? And this Cree App, when I went to their community to help with the recording, they had 1,200 words already pretty much ready to go to put into the app. So I figured, well, since we're doing 5 days here, we're really going to be working. And so I asked one of the band counselors to get together some help and start to mobilize some members of the community to help out with this app. And he brought me this wonderful group. I called them the Wiley Seven. And so they actually did some great recording, and we had a lot of fun. And we were having so much fun, we ended up staying late for most of the evening. And, I just got to really, care about these guys and love these guys because of their dedication, their willingness to put together a project that their youth would use. And that little baby there was one of our little testers. So this is Sidney Mckay. He's never made an app before, and he knew that, but he wanted to contribute something. So he voiced most of the audio. So he was actually sitting in front of a microphone for quite a while, just speaking into the mic and telling stories. And the elders got a chance to come together and work together to make this app. So they argued a little bit. They talked a little bit about how you use certain words. And you could tell that in this community, because it's so close to the city, the elders didn't really use the language that much, only amongst each other. So this was one of the summer students, Eutis, and he's never coded before, but he started putting together some parts of the app and providing some feedback. So he worked as a liaison with the school. And so over the 5 days, we recorded a whole bunch of words, and they put it together, and they used the app. So the school actually has the app pre-installed on all their iPads and everything. And another program that, of course, I visit different places, and sometimes they don't want, a typical language app. They want something that's a little bit different, and they want to have their community trained. So this is Broken Head Bingo. I just put this in here because it uses the same game technology that we could implement within different apps. So you have this little guy, and they drew all the content for this over the 5 days. This was made in northern or central Manitoba, in near South Beach Casino. So that casino was so predominant. They only have one stoplight in their city, so they put it into the app. And they also put in the big, huge chairs that are around the city. And the young people just got to, just go crazy with what they wanted in the app. And they actually did some of the coding. And when I say young people, I mean some folks like these two. Unfortunately, I forget their names. But you can see they're putting together the graphics for the app. They're also testing out the app and demoing it. And at the end of the few days, this line art is really cool. You don't have to be a graphic designer to make an app, and you don't have to, really know programming language, what I'm going to show you very soon. So I decided, well, we need some more characters, and all these people they're First Nations. This guy is Ojibwe from Lake St. Martin, and that's in Manitoba. And one really cool thing, I don't know if any of you know Barbara Nolan. She didn't want to give me her age, but I kind of guessed she was 60 plus, right? And she created this app. So over 3 days, sometimes I decide, well, why don't we just train people just to make apps like crazy? And we'll stay there from 7:30 in the morning till midnight. And she was one of those people that stay there from 7 till midnight, making this app, doing all the recording. And she actually wrote the source code for a lot of the app. And she put together this app and released it into the App Store. Unfortunately, we didn't have too much time to do the recording, so she only recorded 120 words. But this past February in Albuquerque here, she came to one of our training sessions, and she recorded some more words, and then she added it to an Android version of her app. So both those apps are in the App Store. And I just wanted to show you a couple pictures of just, kids using the app and how the app is used. And this is all free source code that's available off the Agoki Learning website. And the cool thing is that's my mom. So she picked up the app and she wanted to know all about it, right? And she never used an iPad before. And my daughter loaded up the app for her, and then she took the iPad away because she wanted to try it out. And she started pressing the buttons. And then she started to explain what the words meant. The word bear doesn't mean just bear. It has a meaning to it. It means medicine carrier, right, in Ojibwe. And she started to interact and engage with the kids and talk to them and start to introduce more culture into the family that, you know, without that app there, they would have been sitting just watching TV, you know. And these are the tools that we're giving our young people, and these are the resources that we're giving our elders to engage with the youth. And 10 minutes later, she took the iPad and ran off. So she just really loves the iPad. So a really cool treat I have for you, and I haven't done this before, but I figure it's pretty easy. And if you were just to come to this conference for one thing, I figure, what can I give you? What can I share with you that is just absolutely amazing you couldn't get anywhere else? So I decided to create an app right here and right now. So let's create an app. And before I do, I want to tell you about the tools that I'm using. I'm just using Photoshop here. And this is just a plain version of Photoshop. It's an academic version, and it's I signed up for like $20 a month for Photoshop, 1-year contract. And then I also downloaded this plugin for Photoshop, and that plugin I think is $149, so $200. So $300 or $400, you could create an app for Android or iPhone. So let's take a look at the app here. So I'm going to just close some of these windows. So the first thing you do is, actually let me just do something really quick here. So we have a smaller screen. Here we go. So this is Photoshop, and this is the CC version, Creative Suite, Creative Cloud. I'm using Quick as a plugin. It's very simple to install, step by step. It takes 2 or 3 minutes. So I'll create a simple storybook app, and I'm going to call this Fish Story. And I'll click Create. So here's our main screen here. And this is the Quick plugin. I can move it around. What I'll do is, because our apps should have really cool backgrounds, I downloaded this fish background underwater. And I want to also add a fish. So I'll add this little clunker fish here, or whatever that is, a flounder, I think it is. And I don't want him there, or her there, so I'll position her over here. And I'll also add a shark. So, because every hero needs a enemy, or a shark. And I'll also add some seaweed here to make it look realistic, like the shark is behind the seaweed. And what's an underwater scene without a wrecked pirate ship? Let's put this way back here. There we go. Let's add another plant here, because the fish should be behind some plants. And let's add one more shark. So this fish is in real trouble. There we go. Oh, you know what else we could add? Let's see. What else do I got here? Oh, I got a scuba diver. Let's add the scuba diver in here. So this scuba diver is really National Geographic style, catching the whole scene, giving the thumbs up, you know. So anyways, if we were to just build this app, and I'll just build the app. So basically you drag all your things to Photoshop like you would normally, and you just click build on QuickShare. So it says project is published. All right, and so I'm also going to use a free program called Corona SDK. So if you're writing these down, this is the third thing you're going to write down, Corona SDK. It's a free download, and it's basically an app development tool. So in Corona, I'm going to open up my fish story build, and I'm going to run it, play it. All right, so, well, I'll zoom out here. Window zoom out. So there's our front page of our app. So we don't have a title just yet. There's no movement. There's no sound. And there's no real objective to the app. So just on a side note, this would be rejected by Apple because it doesn't have utility. So let's make it so that it's not rejected. All right. So we'll take a look at our app here in Photoshop. Okay. So we want to add this little fish here, this little fish. We want it clickable so that the student could click on it and then the fish will make a whatever language we're using. In this case, I think we're going to use, we might be using Cree here or Mi'kmaq. So I'll click on the fish. I will make a button out of the fish, so I'm going to click Add Button. Actually, I skipped a step. We don't have any audio in the file just yet. So I'm going to go to Quickshare. I'm going to add some audio here. So I have the word fish.mp3. I'll add that. I'll say don't play when page starts. Do not loop, just play one time and save. I also have another audio file here, and this is background sound. So I'm going to add this sound here. I'm going to say play when page starts, and it's always going to loop. So I'll click save. So I have one more audio file that I need to add. I'm going to click add audio, and I'm going to add shark.mp3. I didn't listen to these audio files previous, so if something happens, I'll just pull the audio plug. All right, so we're going to say this is a do not play when page starts, play one time, and we'll say OK. There we go. All right, so now I want this fish here, so I have the fish layer selected. I'm going to say add button, and then I'm going to click into the button here, and then I'm going to say I guess I'll say, where is it? Audio. Play audio. So it's going to play the fish sound, and of course we have there 3 audio files. So I'm going to call this button fish. I'll click create. So underwater, things don't just stand still, right? Things actually move. So we're going to take this shark here, I'm going to move him over here, and then I'm going to add some movement to it. So I'm just going to say, move this shark here to, well, let's just move him over here. You know what, let's move him right off screen. We'll make our fish a little bit safer. So one time, play when page starts, and we'll say create. All right, so now we've added a whole bunch of cool things to this. Let's actually just do a really quick animation to this other shark as well. So we'll say move the shark there, say create. I actually think he's going to loop and he's going to jump back to the regular spot. But let's see how it works. Oh, one more thing. We already have our background audio, and I said to the app, I said play when page starts. So it looks like I have issue. Page 1, yeah, I do have an issue. So it tells me I have an issue within my app, and it says I have an issue with page 1. So it might be this background sound that's playing. So I'm going to take the background sound out, and I'm going to run the app again. Oh, it looks like the sharks have the same name. All right, so I'm going to click on here. So this is Shark 2. And I'm just going to rename this to My Shark. And then I'll just take the animation off that shark. So I think it was this one. No, it was the other one. So I'll take the animation off that shark. So what this plugin does is it exports all your files. It also exports your audio. And we can actually check out, so.
No man.
Oops, yeah, that's too loud.
No man.
So that's the word for fish, and I also have a word for shark here. So I'll just take this shark, I'll add a button to the shark, and I'll say audio, play audio, and there's our shark sound, create, and then I'll run the app again. So just with 4 clicks of the mouse, I've added another button to the app. So the word for shark should come up, and I don't know what that word is, so I guess we'll all find out.
Siguladi.
Okay, Sibludadi.
Siguladi.
And what you could do is you could add, the different animations. You could add like trailing effects. You could actually make the background scroll sideways like a real fish tank, and you can make bubbles come out of the diver. You could also add multiple pages to this app. So let's say the second page, you want to test the student on what they've learned. So you could put in text there. You could put in checkboxes. You could do really cool things like that. It's just a little bit more complex, but this tool is widely used through app developers and storybook makers. So there are a lot of YouTube tutorials that could help you out with that. And one thing too is if you want this source code that I just made, like I could give it to you if you come by and bring a USB. So I could share that source code as well. And the Ojibwe App source code is also available on the Okoki Learning website. So I just wanted to share a story with you in closing. It's sort of a story on why we do the things we do, why I do the things I do, and why I share the source code for free and all this stuff. So my young daughter, and you saw her there using the iPad, when she was around 4 or 5, she always wanted to help with everything, and she thought she could do everything. And we went grocery shopping, so I bought a 5-pound bag of oranges, and she really wanted to help, and I had my hands full. So I gave her the 5-pound bag of oranges, and she carried them all the way from the car, all the way down the street, and all the way up our walk. And by the time she got to the bottom of the stairs, she said, "Dad, I can't do it. I can't do it." And I had my hands full. So I walked past her and I said, "Bibi, just believe in yourself," I said to her. And I walked into the house and started putting the groceries away. About a minute later, she's in the house with no bag of oranges. And I said, "Asia, what happened?" And she said, "Mom believed in herself." So that just tells me that, even though we think we can do everything, sometimes we can't. And we really need help from others. And that's why these conferences are so important. And that's why sharing our apps and sharing our language and sharing our source code is so important. Thank you very much.